Welcome back to the channel, folks. So I thought I'd do a quick update just to see where we're at now that I've got all of the four solar panels onto the roof of my garden room here, using the Voltacon Gaia rubber mounts. So check that video out, which I put out recently. I wasn't very well. I'm sure I had some kind of COVID, so excuse the breathlessness. I'm not normally that unfit, although I am quite unfit. I'm not that unfit. So a quick recap then. So I've got some drone footage here. So this is the roof of the garden room. And as you can see, we've got 2 rows of south-facing 450 watt panels. Now, just be careful if you're looking at ordering these Gaia mounts, make sure you do what I didn't do and order the wrong ones. So when I first placed my order, I ordered 1 times 4 modules. But if you want to do what I've done here, where you've got 2 rows of 2 rather than 4 all side by side, you need 2 modules times 2. So make sure you order the right kit. Other things I said was that some of the bolts were the wrong length. So on the far right hand side, the bolts they'd supplied were 30 millimeters and I needed 20 millimeters, so that wasn't brilliant. I did contact them, but in the meantime I ordered some from Amazon. They're only a few pounds, so I was able to finish off the installation. So just make sure, if you're certainly going to collect, just check the bolt length. In my opinion, depending on how thick your panels are, these are about 30 mil. You need 20 mil bolts for the outside edges and 30 millimeter bolts for the center that holds the 2 panels together. I had 20 millimeter bolts for the far left hand brackets and then 30 millimeter bolts for the other end, and they were too long. It was just pushing the bracket up and it wouldn't clamp down. So just make sure you get the right ones. But yeah, it looks really neat, as you can see. I may have got 6 panels on the roof, but as you'll see later, it's not really necessary. 4 panels is more than enough. But they do fit quite nicely onto the roof. There's a nice amount of spacing between the 2 rows to avoid any shading. You could turn the mounts round and put them closer together, like I said, so you probably would get, in my case, 3 rows rather than 2. A few people have asked the dimensions from the very back panel in this configuration to this very front foot is about 3.5 meters. So I've got around 0.5 meter walking space. It's quite tight around the edges. It was a little bit fiddly. You know, when you're dealing with 20 kilo panels, it's quite tricky to get them fitted without falling off the roof, but we got there in the end. Anyway, that's that. So let's just also have a look at some results so far. So if I just nip over to Home Assistant here, let's see what's happening as we speak. So at the moment, as you can see, this is what the panels are drawing. Now, I don't think this is the true picture. What I've noticed with the Ultra X is if you've got feed control turned on, which means it won't send any to the grid, and obviously if the battery's full and your base load isn't very high, it's got to turn the solar panels down. There's nowhere for the energy to go. So this is what's happening now, because my battery is at 92.5%. So it's throttling the solar somewhat, I think. So you can see here. Oh, look, did you see how it suddenly rose? So we're now on 1 kilowatt. So basically, when the battery drops to about 2% under the maximum, the solar will start opening up at full pelt. Now you can see that's really impressive. We're actually currently pulling almost 1.5 kilowatts. So all of a sudden, because that battery has discharged some and there's now some capacity, the solar is now fully charging again. So, but one thing I would say is that what I have found is that even if you've got lots of solar and your battery is full, but your home would take it, it still seems to throttle the solar. So it's almost as though the battery is acting as the kind of the gateway, and as soon as that gets full, regardless of what your base load needs, it still seems to be throttling back the solar. So I haven't got my phone plugged in at the moment to the screen grabbing software, but let me just show you. See, today this is saying that we've generated. I don't know if you can see that, but it's generated. Is it going to focus? So it's generated about 1.6 kilowatt hours. Now, that's not true. It would have generated a lot more. You can see we're generating 1.5 kilowatts at the moment. Now we're at nearly 1 p.m. So I think if I had more battery capacity, more space to dump this energy into, we would have generated more by now. However, if you look at the energy for the last 7 days, if you look around the 12th and 13th of August, look, 7.7 kilowatt hours, 7.2 kilowatt hours. So, you know, now we've got the 4 panels going. It's easily possible. I think I could easily possibly get 9-10 kilowatt hours if I had somewhere for all the energy to go to. I have looked at some ways of getting the Zappy charger to turn on when there's excess solar, but the problem with that is, you know, the law is that a charger, an EV charger, will only start charging if it's got at least 1.4 kilowatts. So what happens is, if there's, say, 500 watts of excess solar, it won't charge the car with 500 watts. It will charge the car at 1.4 kilowatts, which means it's still pulling 900 watts from the grid. So then you have to say, is that still beneficial, or is it still cheaper to not charge from solar in the day and charge the car at 6.9 pence overnight on the intelligent go rate? So there's still a lot of testing to do. I have got some automations running, so I've been playing with automations. I've been looking at solar forecasting. So, you know, do you need to charge the battery at all overnight on a cheat rate if there's going to be, in my case, 8-9 kilowatt hours of solar the next day? Of course you don't, because what happens is, because my automation failed last night, the battery was charged at 95% by 5:30 a.m. So then where does the solar go? So you've got a trade-off between charging your battery. It'll be interesting in the winter, because obviously charging overnight is a no-brainer, but there's definitely a trade-off between how much do you put in the battery and how much do you rely on solar during the day to still charge the battery so that you've got enough overnight and during the evening. Interesting stuff. It's still a learning curve. There is so much out there. There are so many much more clever people than me who are doing loads and loads of stuff with Home Assistant. Oh, I thought this was quite good. Look, I played with this the other day. Here's a little picture of my garden room, look, in real time, and I've mapped the solar production across the picture. So you can see the 4 panels, what they're all doing. You can see the total, and you can see the battery charge. That was quite good. That was a little Claude thing. I just linked Claude AI to this and just said, you know, put me some entities over a picture of my shed. So that was quite neat. So I can see in real time what's going on. Okay, I'll leave it there for now. Thanks for your continued support. If you like this content, please give it a thumbs up. Subscriptions are on the up. I'm now past 6,000, which is brilliant, so thanks very much for that. But if you do like anything you see, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Hit that bell icon so that you're notified as to when I release new content. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Take care.